Welcome to the Deep Dive by 5W Media.
Great to be here.
Today we're taking a shortcut straight to the heart of college baseball. We're diving deep into the field that's now officially set for the 2025 College World Series in Omaha.
That's right. The road to Omaha is always tough, and these 8 teams earned it.
We've got a whole stack of sources here, recaps of those absolutely thrilling super regional battles, some historical context on past tournaments, even some early predictions.
Yeah.
And our mission, really, is to pull out the most important stuff, those key knowledge nuggets, so you, the listener, can understand what really matters as these teams head to Charles Schwab Field.
Exactly. After that postseason gauntlet, it tests everything. Pitching staffs, hitting, just pure, 8 teams have officially punched their tickets. College baseball's ultimate stage.
It really felt like a packed weekend, didn't it? Some of those super regionals went the distance.
Oh, yeah. They needed every possible game. Stretched right into Monday to finalize this field for Omaha. It was edge-of-your-seat stuff in places.
And when you look at the final 8, what immediately jumps out, I think, for you listening, is just the incredible diversity we see.
It really is something.
We have teams from 7 different conferences converging on Omaha this year. It's not just, the usual suspects from 1 or 2 power leagues.
Absolutely. That's a great point. You've got your traditional powerhouses, sure, the SEC, the ACC are represented, but then you have the Pac-12 bringing West Coast flair.
Right.
The Big Ten and Big 12 are in the mix, showing that changing landscape. A strong showing from the Sun Belt, too.
And maybe the most exciting part.
Yeah.
This historic Cinderella story emerging from the Missouri Valley Conference. We'll definitely get into that.
Oh, for sure. That broad representation, it really speaks to the parity we saw building throughout the season, and especially in the postseason. It wasn't just chalk.
Okay, so let's unpack how these 8 teams actually earned their spot. And let's look at the initial pairings. Those first games in Omaha are always so intriguing.
Crucial. The double elimination format there means every single game carries immense weight. Getting off to a strong start in these opening matchups, it can completely set a team's trajectory for the week.
Yeah, because if you lose early,
you're immediately in the loser's bracket. That's a demanding path. It means more games, taxes your pitching staff way more significantly. Winning early gives you that valuable rest, a clearer path forward. It's huge.
All right, so kicking things off Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, we've got the Arizona Wildcats coming out of the Pac-12. They're taking on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers from the Sun Belt.
Okay.
And Arizona's path to Omaha was, shall we say, dramatic.
Yeah, that's one word for it. Okay. They went into Chapel Hill for their super regional against North Carolina, highly touted UNC team.
Yeah.
And Arizona had to pull off this incredible comeback.
Incredible is right. That series in Chapel Hill, it was just a masterclass in resilience, wasn't it?
Totally. Arizona got absolutely shelled in game 1, lost 18-2. Obliterated.
Yeah.
Facing elimination on the road against a top team like North Carolina with that packed, hostile home crowd, most teams would probably just fold right there.
Mentally tough to bounce back from that.
But Arizona didn't fold. They showed that tournament grit we talk about.
They battled back in Game 2, won a much closer game, 10-8, forced that winner-take-all Game 3 on Sunday.
And Game 3, man, that was the kind of game that defines postseason baseball. It was tight, back and forth, just filled with tense moments.
How did it play out?
Well, Arizona managed to scratch across a run early in the second inning against North Carolina's freshman pitching standout, Ryan Lynch. Got to him a bit.
Okay.
But the Tar Heels, playing at home, they responded immediately in the third, put up 3 runs after Lynch seemed to settle in, made it 3-1 UNC.
Probably been going wild then.
Oh, yeah. For a moment, it really felt like UNC was taking control. The place was roaring. It looked like the home team was going to roll.
But the Wildcats just kept answering, didn't they?
They did. They got one back in the 5th, made it 3-2, kept it close, and then the decisive moment came late, in the 8th inning.
This was the big one.
Huge. Runners on base, an error by UNC allowed the tying run to score, knotted up at 3-3, total shift in momentum.
Wow. And then
Mason White. Now there's a name you, the listener, might hear called pretty early in future MLB drafts. He stepped up with the game literally on the line.
Clutch spot.
The kind of moment every young player dreams of, right? White delivers this massive single, plated both the tying and the go-ahead runs, pushed Arizona ahead 5-3.
Unbelievable.
That hit in that moment on the road, facing elimination, game 3 of a super regional. I mean, that is the kind of performance that can define a team's entire run. It showed incredible composure from White and really the whole Arizona lineup to bounce back immediately after that error tied it.
That kind of fight, right. Coming back from that Game 1 blowout, then winning 2 straight on the road, both in dramatic fashion. That has to give Arizona immense confidence, huge momentum heading to Omaha.
No doubt.
And for them, this is their first trip to the College World Series under Coach Chip Hale. That's a big achievement for the program. Signals they're definitely a team that knows how to handle adversity. They've proven it.
And they're going to need that toughness because they face a Coastal Carolina team that took a slightly less dramatic path maybe, but equally impressive. They swept their super regional against Auburn in 2 games.
Right. Coastal's series against Auburn, it still had its moments, though.
Mm.
Game 1 went into extra innings, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Coastal actually built up a pretty comfortable 6-2 lead after 4 innings. Looked like they were in control.
Okay.
But Auburn, an SEC team, they've got plenty of fight. They chipped away, tied the game in the bottom of the 7th with a home run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so suddenly the momentum seemed to be swinging hard in Auburn's favor, especially at home. Looked like maybe it was setting up for a long series.
But Coastal Carolina may be drawing on some of that CWS magic from their history.
Could be. They kept their composure. Top of the 10th inning, catcher Caden Bodine steps up.
Big moment for the catcher.
Huge. Bodine launches a solo home run, a no-doubter shot. Put Coastal back in front, 7-6, in the extra frame.
That's clutch.
That solo homer in that spot was massive. It just immediately negated Auburn's comeback, put all the pressure right back on them. Coastal then held on in the bottom of the 10th to secure that vital Game 1 win on the road.
Winning that first one, extra innings, on the road, that's just huge for confidence. Lets you really control the series.
Absolutely. Then in Game 2, back home, Coastal again showed some resilience. They were actually trailing Auburn 1-0 heading into the bottom of the 7th inning.
Okay, late in the game again?
Yep. And that's where their offense came alive right when it mattered. Walker Mitchell delivered a key RBI single to left center. Tied the game, jump-started a rally.
Got things going.
Exactly. Coastal added 2 more runs in that inning, took a 3-1 lead just like that.
And Mitchell wasn't done, right?
Nope. He provided a really important insurance run with another RBI single in the 8th inning, made it 4-1, and that ended up being the final score.
So they slammed the door.
Pretty much. That comeback win, securing the sweep at home, means Coastal Carolina is heading back to Omaha for the first time since their unforgettable national championship run back in 2016.
Wow, 2016. That was a run.
It really was. So for you watching this first matchup, you've got this surging Arizona team, right? Navigated the ultimate test, 2 straight elimination wins on the road. And they're up against a Coastal team that showed resilience, clutch hitting, swept their way through. It's a fascinating contrast in how they got here.
Definitely sets up an interesting opener. Okay, moving on to the Friday night matchup, 7 p.m. Eastern. We have the Louisville Cardinals from the ACC facing off against the Oregon State Beavers, another Pac-12 representative.
All right, another cross-conference battle.
And Louisville, much like Arizona, they also had to fight through 3 games in their super regional. Theirs was against Miami.
Right, similar path. Like Arizona, Louisville won Game 1, but then they lost Game 2 at home. Forced that decisive Game 3 on Sunday.
And in that 3rd game, Miami actually jumped out to an early lead, didn't they?
They did. 2-run home run in the 3rd inning. Made it 2-0 Miami. Put Louisville on their heels a bit.
But Louisville, playing at home, they answered pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was key. They put up 2 runs in the very next inning, the 4th, immediately tying the game at 2-2. That quick answer in postseason baseball, it's just vital. Stops the opponent from building too much momentum, gets the crowd back into it.
So where did the winning run come from?
That came later in the 7th inning, driven in by Eddie King Jr. Now, he's a player who, according to the sources we looked at, has been just absolutely blistering hot at the plate lately.
Blistering hot is right. King Jr.'s performance, it's really worth highlighting for you, the listener. The sources note he had another 3-hit performance in that Game 3 win.
Wow.
Which gave him multiple hits and an incredible 6 of his last 7 games heading into Omaha. 6 out of 7.
That is locked in. When a player gets that hot offensively, especially this time of year, man, it can carry an entire lineup. That kind of consistent production from a key spot is just invaluable.
And Louisville's got experience on this stage too, right?
They do. This marks the 6th College World Series appearance for Louisville under Coach Dan McDonnell. So they've got plenty of experience with the atmosphere, the pressure.
Yeah.
That could definitely be a factor.
Okay, so their opponent, Oregon State, They also won a dramatic 3-game super regional series, beating Florida State out in Corvallis.
Another 3-gamer. Yeah, the Oregon State-Florida State series started off just as thrillingly, maybe even more so than Coastal's opener.
How so?
Well, in Game 1, Oregon State found themselves down 4-1 heading into the bottom of the 9th inning. At home, yes, but down 3 runs in the 9th against a team like Florida State.
Yeah, most fans might be heading for the exits at that point.
Right. But the Beavers mounted this incredible comeback, scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to tie the game, send it to extras.
It's like unbelievable resilience.
And then, bottom of the 10th, they win Game 1 in a walk-off fashion. That moment must have been absolutely electric for the home crowd in Corvallis, a walk-off win to open the Super Regional. I mean, that's the kind of high that can really fuel a team.
But Florida State, they're a proud program. They didn't just roll over after that.
No, they showed resilience, too. Bounced right back, won Game 2, forced the decisive 3rd game, set up another winner-take-all scenario.
But in Game 3, Oregon State kind of left no doubt early, did they?
Not at all. Their bats were just on fire from the very first pitch, it felt like.
Really came out swinging.
They truly did. Oregon State exploded for 7 runs in the first inning. 7. And then they added another 6 runs in the 3rd.
Whoa.
Yeah. They built this massive early lead. It was 14-4 after they added another run in the 4th. Just a huge cushion.
That kind of offensive outburst, especially to open a winner-take-all game, that's just demoralizing for an opponent.
Totally sucks the air out of the other dugout. Florida State did try to chip away. They scored some runs later in the game, but that huge early deficit was simply too much to overcome. The final score ended up 14-10. Still high scoring, but the early damage was done.
So for you, looking at this second matchup Friday night, you've got a Louisville team with a very seasoned coach, Dan McDonnell, and a white-hot hitter in Eddie King Jr.
Yep.
Against an Oregon State team that showed both sides of the coin, right?
Right.
The ability to stage these dramatic late-game comebacks and the capacity for just explosive early offensive power.
Exactly. 2 really experienced programs, both clearly capable of winning in different ways, looking to make a deep run in Omaha. That should be a fantastic game.
All right, let's move to Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern. And this matchup, this one really embodies the spirit of the NCAA tournament, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, this is the one.
We have the Murray State Racers from the Missouri Valley Conference squaring off against the UCLA Bruins representing the Big Ten this year. Murray State's journey is, well, frankly, it's incredible.
Incredible might be an understatement, seriously. They went into the Durham Super Regional against Duke, lost the first game.
On the road again.
Had to win 2 straight against a really good Duke team to punch their ticket to Omaha. And this is the first College World Series appearance in program history for Murray State ever.
Just amazing. And what makes their story truly unique, I think, for you following college baseball closely, is their seeding. Murray State was a regional 4 seed.
Yeah.
A 4 seed who made it all the way to Omaha. This is exceptionally rare. I mean, since the 64-team tournament era began back in 1999, they are only the 4th regional 4 seed to ever accomplish this. 4th ever.
That puts them in truly elite, completely unlikely company. The other 4 seeds to make it, you had Fresno State in 2008, Stony Brook in 2012, and Oral Roberts just last year in 2023.
Think about what that means.
Yeah, I mean, there are 16 regionals, 4 teams each. Being the lowest seed and winning that regional means you typically upset 3 higher seeds, often 2 of them on the road, just to get to the Super Regional.
Right.
And then Murray State did it again, beating a national seed like Duke on the road in the Super Regional. It's remarkable.
And the historical note that stands out the most, I think, for you thinking about Cinderellas and what's possible,
is Fresno State.
Yeah, Fresno State in 2008 is the only one of those previous 3-4 seeds to go on and win the whole thing, win the national championship.
Which means it's not impossible. It's incredibly hard, obviously, but Fresno State proved it can be done. That makes Murray State's potential ceiling, theoretically incredibly high.
So how did they do it against Duke? What happened in that Super Regional?
Well, after losing Game 1, they needed a massive offensive performance in Game 2 just to stay alive, and boy, did they deliver. They scored a whopping 19 runs.
19 runs.
19 runs to tie the series. That kind of offensive firepower seemingly coming out of nowhere against a quality opponent.
Yep.
That's a classic trait of a team just getting red hot at the absolute perfect time.
And Game 3 on Monday, that was the clincher.
Yeah, and it was apparently a tense, nail-biting finish. The sources mentioned there was even a moment of confusion late in the game. An initial interference double play call got overturned after review, adding to the drama.
Wow, late game drama with controversial calls.
Exactly. But through all that, Murray State held on for a 5-4 victory, completed their historic run to Omaha.
To win that tense Game 3 on the road
Yeah.
against a perennial power like Duke after dropping Game 1, that just shows the mental fortitude of this Murray State team. They're absolutely the Cinderella story of 2025, no question.
They really are. And they face a UCLA team that took a different path. They swept UTSA in Los Angeles in their super regional. So while Murray State is the ultimate underdog story, UCLA's path highlighted maybe a different kind of turning point for their particular team.
What was that?
Well, the sources we looked at note that UCLA's pitching, it had been kind of an uncharacteristic struggle for them throughout much of the year.
Which is surprising for UCLA, usually known for strong arms.
Exactly. For a program with that reputation, it was a significant challenge they were facing all season.
But in the super regional, against a pretty hard-hitting UTSA team, their pitching really stepped up when it mattered most.
Big time, they did. UCLA's pitchers threw a complete shutout in Game 2 to finish the sweep against UTSA.
A shutout to clinch.
Yeah. That level of performance from their pitching staff, especially in a decisive postseason game against a good offense, that's a fantastic sign for them heading into Omaha. Maybe they figured something out.
Who stood out on the mound?
Landon Stump apparently had one of his best outings of the entire year in that Game 2 shutout, delivered crucial innings, kept UTSA off balance, even though I think he didn't end up qualifying for the win statistically.
But getting that kind of pitching depth and execution from their arms, especially when that's maybe been an area of concern earlier, that's something you, the listener, should definitely keep an eye on with UCLA.
For sure. UCLA, they're newcomers to the Big Ten Conference this year, and now they're off to Omaha seeking the second national championship in school history. Their super regional win, highlighted by that pitching rebound, really suggests they might have found their stride at exactly the right time.
So Saturday afternoon gives us this fascinating contrast.
Yeah.
The ultimate underdog in Murray State, making their CWS debut riding historic momentum
Yeah.
against a UCLA team, a more known program that just got a potentially season-defining performance from the part of their team that needed it most for their pitching staff.
Should be a really interesting clash of styles and stories.
Okay, and the final opening matchup, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. This is a classic SEC showdown between two traditional powerhouses, the LSU Tigers and the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Oh, yeah. The nightcap Saturday is a heavyweight bout. These are two teams many people expected to contend, and they both showed exactly why in their super regionals.
LSU, they made relatively quick work of West Virginia down in Baton Rouge, right?
Yeah.
Swept their super regional 2-0.
They were efficient and very powerful, put up a huge offensive number in Game 1, scoring 16 runs. It was a high-scoring game, but they won it pretty handily.
16 runs gets it done.
Usually.
Yeah.
But Game 2, I think, showed their ability to respond to pressure, which is maybe even more important. They jumped out to a significant early lead, put up 6 runs in the first 2 innings, looked like they might cruise.
But West Virginia pushed back.
They did. To their credit, West Virginia didn't fold. They chipped away, closed the gap to 6-4 in the bottom of the 5th inning, made it a tense ball game again, put some pressure on LSU.
How did LSU answer?
Immediately
Yeah.
and decisively. They responded with a huge 6-run 7th inning that just put the game away.
Broke it open for good.
Yeah. Stephen Milam and Jake Brown were the key drivers in that offense, according to the sources. Each knocked in 4 runs in the game. Brown capped off that big 7th inning with a 2-run homer that essentially just slammed the door on West Virginia's comeback hopes.
That ability, to jump out to a lead, absorb the opponent's counterpunch, and then immediately respond with a huge inning of your own, that is a very dangerous combination for a team heading to Omaha. Shows offensive depth, shows mental toughness.
Absolutely. And they face an Arkansas team that also swept their super regional, beating Tennessee up in Fayetteville 2-0. This was a really highly anticipated series against another top SEC opponent, and Arkansas just looked incredibly sharp.
Game 2 of that series seemed like the turning point, right? It was tight until Arkansas broke things open in the 4th inning.
Oh, yeah.
With one massive swing that probably had the fans in Fayetteville just roaring.
No doubt. Logan Maxwell launched a grand slam off Tennessee reliever A.J. Russell. And that moment, it wasn't just 4 runs on the board. It was a pivotal swing that completely changed the complexion of the game. And significantly, it scored a runner who had actually been inherited from Tennessee's ace pitcher, Liam Doyle.
Ah, so they got to the reliever after getting to the ace.
Exactly. And the sources highlight something particularly interesting about Arkansas' success in this series. They seem to have had Liam Doyle's number all year long.
Really? Doyle's a big name.
Huge name. Projected first-round pick in the upcoming MLB draft, but Arkansas tagged him for 8 runs in a regular season matchup earlier this year. And then in this crucial Game 2 of the Super Regional, they got 3 more runs off him before chasing him from the mound early.
Having that kind of consistent success against the opponent's absolute top pitcher, that is a massive advantage in the postseason, isn't it?
It's enormous. It forces the other team to go to their bullpen way earlier than they planned. And meanwhile, the sources mention that Tennessee's offense really struggled to find answers against Arkansas pitching in Game 2. And then Tennessee's pitchers actually walked in 2 insurance runs for Arkansas in the 7th, which might indicate some control issues under that pressure.
So Arkansas looked really complete.
They did. And Arkansas being the first SEC team to actually clinch a spot in the CWS this year is notable, especially when you consider a record 13 SEC teams made the overall tournament field of 64.
Wow. 13.
Yeah. It also kind of highlights how they overcame some maybe early season questions. The D1 baseball, way too early discussions about Arkansas, apparently, had wondered if they'd return enough key players or if they needed more pitching help. Well, they clearly addressed those areas and found their stride to make it all the way to Omaha. They look formidable.
So for you, the listener, this Saturday night SEC matchup is just a high-powered collision. 2 teams, LSU and Arkansas, that absolutely dominated their super regionals. Both look like really complete teams, just firing on all cylinders heading into Omaha.
Yeah, that game feels like it could be an early preview of a potential championship series matchup, honestly. Both teams look that good right now.
Now, as exciting as all these matchups are, and as much as we can, analyze the strengths and weaknesses we saw in the super regionals, the history, the lore, really, of the College World Series constantly reminds us of one thing.
What's that?
This tournament is famously incredibly unpredictable.
That's the magic of Omaha, isn't it? It truly is. The team with the best regular season record, the highest ranking, the most projected first-round draft picks. That doesn't always guarantee you're the one hoisting the trophy at the end.
Not even close sometimes.
In Omaha, frankly, your regular season record, it just doesn't always matter as much as people might think. It kind of gets thrown out the window.
That feels like a massive understatement sometimes, and it's backed by some really fascinating data points we found in the sources. It's a striking fact that only one overall national top seed in NCAA baseball has won the College World Series since the year 2000.
Wait, say that again? Only one.
Only one. Think about that. Over 2 decades of tournaments, only one team ranked #1 overall entering the tournament has actually finished on top.
That is wild. It speaks volumes about the difficulty of this tournament.
And you also have the stat that there have been no champions with less than 11 losses since way back in 1966.
Wow, since 66, so you can't just be flawless all year.
Apparently not. The tournament format, especially that double elimination bracket in Omaha, it really tests a team's depth and resilience in ways the regular season just doesn't. You absolutely need multiple reliable starting pitchers, you need a deep bullpen you can trust, and you need an offense that can still produce even when facing another team's ace, or maybe having an off day from 1 or 2 of your key hitters. You can't just rely on one guy.
That makes sense. The grind of Omaha weeds out teams that aren't deep enough.
And we have some classic examples, right? Teams defying all expectations, overcoming significant loss totals to win it all. Think about Virginia back in 2015.
Oh yeah, UVA 15.
They won the national title despite having 24 losses that year. 24.
The lore around that Virginia team, as the sources mention, is that it was arguably Coach Brian O'Connor's quote-unquote worst regular season team based purely on their record and consistency. Yet, they caught fire at the absolute perfect time in the postseason. They navigated tough regional and super regional matchups, and then they somehow survived the Omaha bracket. It completely defies that idea that only the most dominant regular season teams can win. It just showed the power of chemistry, coaching adjustments, getting hot at the right moment, everything clicking.
And then there's the almost unbelievable story of Fresno State in 2008. We mentioned them as the 4 seed.
Yeah, the ultimate Cinderella.
They won the national championship with a staggering 31 losses on the season. 31 losses.
31 losses and a national title. It barely computes. And not just the loss total, but like you said, they were also a regional 4 seed. The sources make the perfect comparison here.
Right.
Try to imagine like a 13 or 14 seed winning the entire NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Right. It's that level of upset.
Fresno State came completely out of nowhere. They had to win their regional on the road, then win their super regional on the road, and then somehow navigate the CWS bracket in Omaha. They just found a way to string together wins when it mattered most, peaking at the absolute ideal time. It's maybe the ultimate example of that mantra. Just get into the tournament and literally anything can happen.
And these aren't just, isolated incidents from way back when. We've seen other significant upsets and really unlikely runs just in the last decade or so. Coastal Carolina's 2016 championship is a great recent one, especially for you listening who follow maybe smaller conference teams.
Yes, Coastal, they won the whole thing in their very first College World Series appearance ever. And they did it as a Sun Belt team.
And they didn't just sneak by.
No way. They didn't just win. They took down traditional powerhouses along the way. They beat the #1 overall seed Florida that year. They beat number 5 seed Texas Tech. It was this run fueled by just exceptional tenacity, brilliant small ball execution sometimes, and surprisingly dominant pitching performances when they needed them most. It just showed that heart, that grit, and flawless execution can absolutely trump bigger names or higher rankings in Omaha.
Oregon State has also proven the power of resilience in Omaha multiple times, haven't they?
They really have. In 2018, they lost their very first game in the double elimination bracket, immediately sent to the losers bracket, facing elimination in every single game they played from then on.
That's a brutal pass.
The toughest path. Yeah. And they fought their way back through the entire losers bracket, made it all the way to the championship series, and won the title.
Incredible.
And what makes this even more remarkable is that, according to the sources, it mirrored their 2006 championship run, where they also lost their first game and battled all the way back through the losers bracket to win it all.
Wow, they know how to do it the hard way.
Apparently. And that 2018 series against Arkansas, it even featured that infamous foul ball play near the end. You know the one. Many baseball fans see that as a key turning point, a moment that just swung momentum completely. A single play, maybe influenced by luck, maybe perspective, can have massive championship implications in Omaha. It's that tight.
And just 5 years ago, remember 2019, we saw Michigan make it all the way to the CWS finals. Game 3 of the finals.
Yeah, Michigan's run.
What's notable about that, for you listening, is they were one of the very last 4 teams selected for the entire NCAA tournament field that year. They had a 50-22 record, but their inclusion was actually questioned by some analysts.
Right, it barely snuck in.
Yet they proved they absolutely belonged, and then some. Made it all the way to the final 2 teams, standing before losing to Vanderbilt. Still an incredible run for a team that almost didn't get in.
And these stories, they stand in such stark contrast to teams with incredibly rich histories, dominant programs, who have consistently fallen short in Omaha despite getting there many times.
Florida State comes to mind immediately. A perennial baseball powerhouse. They have made it to the College World Series a staggering 23 times.
23 appearances.
And have never won a national championship. Just brutal luck in Omaha for them.
Mind-boggling stat. Clemson is similar, 18 appearances without a title. North Carolina, who Arizona just beat, they've been 10 times without winning, including that really tough loss to Oregon State in the 2018 championship series we just discussed.
Right.
And even teams with, historically dominant regular seasons haven't always converted that into a national title. The sources mentioned the Arizona State team back in 1972. They went 64-6 during the regular season.
Just 4-6.
And did not win the championship that year. It just illustrates that even near-perfect regular seasons don't guarantee success in that unique crucible that is Omaha.
And when you look at this specific 2025 field, the unpredictable nature of the tournament is already on full display for you, the listener. Only one national top 5 seed made it to Omaha this year.
It's just one. The sources point out this is the first time that's happened since way back in 2014. It just underscores how challenging the entire postseason bracket is now, how tough it is even for the presumed favorites to navigate through regionals and super regionals just to make it to the final 8.
So what does that mean for this year?
Well, it means this field is perhaps even more wide open than usual. It features teams that maybe peaked later in the season or found their rhythm perfectly in the postseason rather than just the teams that dominated wire to wire. Makes it harder to predict.
So the core message from all this history, all this lore, for you, the listener, it seems to be exactly what the sources kind of sum up. Just find a way to make the postseason. Get into the dance.
And then anything can happen. Momentum, getting hot at the exact right time, a key play that breaks your way, maybe even just a little bit of luck. Any of those things can propel basically any team in this field to the top.
It really makes for the most compelling baseball of the year, I think. because you truly never know which team is suddenly going to catch fire, which pitching staff is going to hold up under that intense pressure, or which player is going to become the completely unexpected hero of the tournament.
Exactly. It's why Omaha is so special.
Okay, so in this landscape of just inherent unpredictability, where history tells us anything can happen, where do the external sources we looked at actually place the odds? Who do the quote-unquote experts think has the best shot, knowing full well that history suggests it's rarely, if ever, a sure thing?
Well, according to the sports betting sites mentioned in the sources, LSU and Arkansas are listed as the clear favorites entering the College World Series.
Okay, the two SEC teams that swept.
Yep. That's not really surprising, right?
Mm-hmm.
Given their status as SEC powerhouses and just how dominant they looked in their super regional sweeps, they look like the teams to beat on paper right now.
Are they heavy favorites, or are there others close behind?
The sources also note that there are 5 total teams trading at 10-to-1 odds or shorter. So while LSU and Arkansas are seen as the frontrunners, the betting market clearly believes a few other teams in this field have a legitimate chance to make a serious run. It's not just a 2-horse race in their eyes.
Okay. And you mentioned another source, something about an AI prediction.
Yeah, just for kind of an interesting point of comparison, the sources also apparently asked a large language model chatbot, ChatGPT, for its prediction on the 2025 College World Series champion.
Okay, I'm always curious about these AI picks. What did ChatGPT say? Who does the AI like?
ChatGPT's prediction for the 2025 College World Series winner is Arkansas.
Interesting. Okay, so the AI aligns with one of the betting favorites. Did it give any reasoning for that choice? Like, what aspects of Arkansas's team did the AI specifically highlight?
It did provide some reasoning.
Yeah.
Apparently, ChatGPT focused on Arkansas's combination of top-tier weekend starters, having multiple reliable bullpen arms, and getting consistent run production even from the bottom third of their order.
The depth argument.
Exactly. The AI concluded that depth is absolutely paramount in the double elimination format of the CWS, and Arkansas appears to have that depth across their entire roster, in their starting pitching, their relief pitching, and throughout their lineup, even down to the 7, 8, 9 hitters contributing. That resilience, that depth everywhere was the key factor for the AI pick.
You know, that reasoning from the AI, it lines up perfectly with what we've seen play out in past CWS tournaments, doesn't it?
It really does.
Teams that win titles or make those deep runs often have exactly that kind of well-rounded depth, especially on the pitching staff. You just burn through arms so quickly in that format if you end up in the loser's bracket or have a starter struggle.
Yep. You need guys you can count on in the bullpen.
And getting consistent offense from the bottom of the lineup is huge, too. It prevents teams from just pitching around your star hitters, makes the lineup so much tougher to navigate 1 through 9.
Exactly right. So, look, it's just one prediction, of course, an AI prediction, but the reasoning behind it does point to factors that are historically incredibly important for success in Omaha. Depth matters.
Okay, so based on these external sources we have, Arkansas seems to have maybe a slight edge in the perceived odds, both from the traditional betting markets and from this AI analysis that specifically values their depth as key to navigating that tough double elimination format.
But, and this is the big but, as you, the listener, now know intimately from our deep dive into the history and the lore of Omaha, predictions and odds, they're really just starting points, aren't they?
They're conversation starters.
Exactly. They don't and really can't account for the magic, the momentum swings, their one key play that changes everything, or just the sheer will of a team that finds its absolute perfect stride at the perfect moment. That's the stuff you can't quantify.
Which brings us, I think, to our final thought for you, the listener, as these 8 teams pack their bags and head to Omaha. Considering that powerful historical context of upsets, of unlikely champions that we've explored, considering the fact that only one national top 5 seed even made it this year, and considering the unique strengths and the dramatic journeys each of these teams just navigated in their super regional.
Yeah.
How do you think this unique blend of talent and sheer unpredictability will actually play out this year in the heart of college baseball? Will one of the favorites, like LSU or Arkansas, leverage that perceived depth and power and just roll through the bracket? Or is another Cinderella story brewing? Is Murray State or maybe another unexpected team ready to add their name to that incredible lore alongside Fresno State or Coastal Carolina?
Man, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. I can't wait.
Me neither. All right, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Always fun.
If you like what you are hearing from us, please subscribe. Also, if you would like and share this video, it helps us tremendously and means so much to us. Please also leave a comment. We want to know what you think and value ideas you might have for future podcasts.
Yeah, let us know who you think is going to win it all.
Thanks for tuning in.